Hello, this is Father Michael Nasser coming to you from St. Nicholas Orthodox Church here in Grand Rapids, Michigan for this week's Midweek Reflection. And this is the penultimate, the second to the last of my series I'm calling Wayside Wisdom, of things that I saw, beautiful things written on the walls of overpasses and park benches along my pilgrimage on the Camino de Santiago this past summer. Today's is one I've really been excited to do for a while. I've been thinking about it a lot. It's one of the more surprising and a little bit hard to understand at first, but it's sort of like you're going to have this sort of light bulb moment. And here it is. It's one that I saw actually in English, and it's going to sound ridiculous at first, and we're going to break it down a little bit. And that saying is this: man is condemned to be free. Man is condemned to be free. It sounds like the opposite of what we would believe. Like, we love our freedom, especially here in America. We celebrate our freedom. We crave our freedom. We don't want anyone telling us what to do as Americans. And I think as people in general, we've just become a race where we cherish and treasure our freedom. And if that's the case, then it sounds ridiculous to say that we are condemned to be free. We long to be free. We crave to be free. How is it possible that we are condemned to be free? Well, I don't think we actually are condemned to be free, but we can, if we understand what I think this very wise person was saying is, if we understand freedom as it really is, maybe we don't crave it as much as we think we do. Because, as we hear in the wonderful Spider-Man movies, with great freedom comes responsibility. I don't think that's actually the right quote, but anyway, the more we can do, the more we realize that we have the freedom to do, I think the more we realize that we're responsible. If I'm a victim, which is another temptation we have, but that's for another day. But if I'm a victim, then I don't have to worry about, it's somebody else's fault. But if I'm free to choose what happens, I'm even free to react to whatever I can't control that happens to me, then if I'm really free, then I'm really responsible. If somebody does something terrible to me, well, I might not be able to stop that from happening. But if I'm condemned to be free, that means I'm free to choose my response. And we see this in the life of the greatest saints of the church. Every one of them suffered in unimaginable ways. Some of them by their horrific martyrdoms, their deaths. Some were tortured. Some chose to live very difficult lives, living out in the wilderness with no food and just eating whatever little plants they could find along the way. But they chose, in their freedom, to follow God. And because they chose, they suffered, but they weren't angry about it. They weren't disappointed. They didn't blame anyone else. Why? Because they understood that we are condemned to be free, meaning we have our freedom. We may not like it sometimes. Actually, we think we like it when we find how responsible we are, then we really sometimes, as I said, we sometimes crave to be victims. Well, it's that person's fault. It's that government's fault. It's that political leader's fault. It's whatever, somebody else's fault. But if we are condemned to be free, then it's no one else's fault how we respond to what happens to us. God gives us this beautiful freedom to choose how we respond to all that happens in life, the easy and the hard. And so I think if we think about it, yeah, we may not like our freedom as much as we think we do. And it might seem like we're condemned to be free. But actually, if we bring the highest level of truth to that, we're blessed. We're blessed to be free, even if that means that we have to take responsibility for whatever happens to us and or the response to what happens to us. And the lives of the saints and their joy in the face of such horrific things that happen to them show us that it's possible to not live condemned to be free, but to be thankful for we're free and to choose our freedom and our free response carefully. And if we know we're in Christ and we know that He has us right where we need to be, in the palm of His hands, then we know we don't have to worry about anything. We're going to suffer. This life's going to be hard. But if we're blessed to be free, then we don't have to blame anyone else. We can just trust God that whatever happens, we can choose to respond beautifully, joyfully, peacefully, no matter how difficult circumstances are. So it might seem that we're condemned to be free. What it means is that, you know what? We may not like the response that comes with our freedom. But if we see that it happens to us, that we are free in Christ, then that condemnation is transformed to a blessing. We're blessed to be free and to respond to whatever life brings us with all the joy that a life in Christ allows us to respond with. I hope you found that helpful. If so, please share with your friends, and God willing, we'll see you in next week's video.